Hello, hi, this is Blakely from Blakely Smith Coaching. I just wanted to drop in and say a couple words about awareness right now, specifically in the leadership space. There is a quote by Carl Jung that inspired me, so I just wanted to share it. So the quote goes like this: "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So this is coming to us from the father of the collective unconscious, which is really important right now, given everything going on. There's a lot going on with everyone individually, but we also have a lot going on collectively. So it's important to know that there's kind of two effects happening. We might have our individual stressors and filters and all those things, and then that's also now being run through the collective. So we're always influenced by that, but even more so right now. So something to keep in mind. So this quote's really about bringing things into our awareness. And, we're pelted a lot by this idea of change, and we need to change. And of course, change is possible. Of course, change is good, but it doesn't always feel good. And sometimes I hear often, people get very caught up in like, I need to change this and this and this and this and this and this, and it becomes very overwhelming to the nervous system. That's tough. And so, what we say is awareness heals. So once we're aware of something, we're very smart. Once we're aware of something, we're able to pivot. Whether we know it or not, we're going to be able to pivot on it. So I just want to throw that out there before we really dive into this. So we all play a lot of roles in our lives. We're leaders, we're parents, we're spouses, we're friends, we're sister, brother, we're all these things. We're followers at work, we're colleagues at work. We have a lot of different roles, and those roles aren't necessarily who we are. And we can get into the existential conversation about who are we, but most of us don't have time for that, at least not today. So it's best if we accept those things as being performances, just for the sake of, heuristics and moving on with our lives. Each of those things are, while we might be showing up authentically, we're still showing up and doing a performance, which is, a set of behaviors based on a set of outcomes and a set of expectations that we're going to meet. So those are all performances that we're doing. And what leaders really want, and whether they know it or not, what leaders really want is they want to show up and they want to be conscious in their choices. And before I move on with that, even if you're listening to this and you're not, a formal leader, we're all leaders to some extent. Whether, it's self-leadership, we wake ourselves up, we put ourselves to bed. There's leadership in that. The choices we make, we eat, we sleep, we stand up, we walk around. That's self-leadership. Doing that in accordance to a set of goals you may have, or a set of desired outcomes you may have, is leadership. And so even if you're not, like, if you may be a leader and you have 56 direct reports, or you're a leader because you're a parent, or you're a leader because you're in a relationship, or there's some form of leadership there, no matter how you want to define it. And that's the space I love to work in. Hi. So these are conditions of performance, these roles. So performance is really driven by energy, and energy is driven by thoughts. And so as we're moving through the day, especially as we're switching roles, or we're in one role and we're super niche, or if we're moving from one thing to the other, sometimes it's very hard. Our energy is very close to us, but it's so close that we can't see it. Sometimes we're not aware of what may be there for us. And so we often become like, the rider that rides all night but is not aware of the horse beneath them. When they get to the end, of the horse dies sometimes in the movies. It's terrible. So we don't want to be like that. We want to notice, the energy that's here. We want to honor the energy that's here and really connect to the self when we can. So, a lot of times we're being driven by our good energy, but we can also be held back by energy that's very draining, or what we call energy blocks. And these are beliefs that we may have that we're not even aware of. They're interpretations that we make about about ourselves, or about the other person, or whatever it is. We make interpretations and we may not even know that we're doing it, or we have assumptions that are based on a past, and we're gonna bank on our future based on what happened back there. Then we become very our thinking becomes very linear, and we become we're in several places at once, and so that can really drain energy. And there's no such thing as bad energy, but there is energy that can drain from what we're trying to build. And so that's the energy that we want to identify and try to reduce where we can, if we can. So the way to start doing this is to start noticing where your energy is. And we're not always able to make conscious decisions, especially when we're not aware. Sometimes we have to make decisions based on fear. Sometimes we have a goal. Sometimes we have a year-end goal. Sometimes we have KPIs, or we have things that we have to meet. And sometimes those things can drive us, and we can come from a very unconscious place, a very fear-based place. And that all makes sense because, it's nobody wants to miss a goal. And sometimes we're really trying to move away from not making something or from not hitting a goal. And so that comes from a very fear-driven place. And when we're in that place, our values are not coming from our consciousness. They're coming from stories that we have, old tape recordings that play over and over and over again. And those are important recordings. They're important to have a conversation with ourselves about what those mean, but they're not going to necessarily take us to where we want to go. So the thing to do is to identify those, bring awareness to them, bring kindness to them, and then move forward in a goal-oriented direction if that's what we choose. And so in order to show up and make conscious decisions, we need to understand what our conscious values are, the things that are important to us based on what actually is important to us and not based on what we've been told. And so to know that stuff, and then to also know where we may have interpretations driving us or assumptions driving us. So, and that's where the work of coaching comes in, and that's so much of the work is around finding that stuff and reframing it, and then watching the lights come on and watching outcomes that are desired just kind of come to fruition. It's amazing what happens when energy gets cleared. It's a beautiful thing. So to start this, I want to give you a small exercise. So I just want you to think about a time that you performed really well by your standards, whatever that performance meant to you, however you define that, however whatever good looks like to you. So I want you to think about a time where you performed really well, and I want you to think about your level of awareness of your environment, of the people around you, of the tasks you were doing, and just of your physicality in that environment. Were you stressed? Were you breathing? Was your breathing labored? Did you feel calm? Did you feel ecstatic? What was your state? And then I also want you to think about the feelings and the thoughts that you had in that situation. What was running through your head? What were you telling yourself about yourself, or what were you telling yourself about what would happen if this didn't go perfectly? What are those things? So I want you to come up with that, and I also want you to think about the values that were met for you in that situation, and also the values that might not have been met. So just take some time, think through that, and then next just think about 3 benefits you might find from becoming more aware in your everyday life. And it's really important to think about the things that went well. We have a corporate culture that's very post-action review oriented. We have a project management discipline out there that's very lessons learned oriented. That's valuable learning. It really is. But what's more valuable to a leader who's wanting to be more conscious in the way that they work is to begin to make conscious choices in the moment. That's where you find creativity. That's where you find your effectiveness and your passion and things like that. And that's where you find the ability to positively influence people around you if that's what you want. That's where we find anabolic energy. And so I encourage you to start making conscious decisions in the moment. That's really what's going to allow you to make a decision on if you're trying to work through something, whether it's that you want to communicate better, or you want better time management, or you want to be more emotionally intelligent, whatever those things are, just taking this pause and thinking through that will begin the process of being able to do that. And with that, I wish you all well, and it's lovely to be in cyberspace, and I will see you soon. Take care. Bye.